So Canmore, as you know, I see it very like Golden in a lot of ways. We're both surrounded by spectacular mountains. We're both absolutely thrive in terms of mountain activities. We've got the hiking and the biking, all of these things that people love to come and do, and that's the perception that goes on in the outside world. What we are also is communities, and community first. It's not necessarily about the business, it's about that sense of community, that sense of belonging, and that place where everybody wants to be. And Canmore has this great long history of being this community and has a lot of really good, close, established community partnerships. But what it's really never had is that business partnership and the organisations working together. And again, the presentation we've just seen, this is what I've been living for the last few years. And it's been bringing people together and seeing how we can actually break down the silos. We, for instance, a few years ago took tourism and we took economic development and we merged them together. And we created a new organisation, this is Canmore Business and Tourism, the organisation that I do lead. What I've discovered in the time in between is that economic development actually excludes tourism. Economic development means anything but tourism, please, anything else. Which is a disaster when 51% of your workforce is directly employed within tourism, and it's a $300 million a year industry of direct spend coming in. So what we've been really trying to do is break down those barriers. And we have to look at the problems that we face. As the hotels in Canmore go, so do the rest of the businesses, so do the restaurants. And you'll see in the summertime, we're right up at the top. There's very little we can do to grow. But you look in the wintertime, and you look particularly that midweek. We have hotels running single-digit occupancy in midweek in January. So we have to be as solution-oriented as we possibly can. Wherever there is a problem, there is a solution to it, we've got to find it. The most logical one for us, very simple. Unfortunately, when I am talking collaboration, Alberta Banff doesn't like that, so it doesn't go down very well. So what we were looking at doing is to say, how do we start taking these perceptions? What I was just saying, there's two perceptions about Canmore. In the outside world, so in our big markets of Calgary and Edmonton, everyone thinks about us as hiking, biking, cross-country skiing. In Canmore, that's not what people think, that's just what people do. People think of us about amazing dining, they think about the arts, they think about all these things that really are at the soul of the community. John Gilchrist, the CBC food critic, this is a direct quote from him last year. And it's not just the quality in terms of the restaurants in Canmore, but we actually have 82 food and beverage outlets in a town of 12,000 people. So again, we start to look at the sustainability of that. 12,000 people will never sustain 82 restaurants. We have a community that loves its restaurants, but don't go anywhere near enough. Therefore, we need the visitors to come on in. So we needed to start to work with that industry, and lo and behold, a food festival was what was born. So as we started to put it together, we had to create this vision, and this is the what-if question that Matt was just talking about there. We wanted to build a foundation. We wanted to be able to create a food festival that could come back year after year. We wanted to be really, really bold, and this is where we have to say, 82 restaurants of that quality, we have to trust that there is an amazing product there and they're going to follow through. Most of all, though, we wanted to get the restaurants, the food and beverage industry, working together. We came up with a vision statement. Canmore hosts a nationally renowned food and drink festival that showcases its world-class dining experiences, which is a pretty bold statement when you've never done a food festival before. So then we went into the development side of it. And first thing we did, we pulled all our restaurants together. This was a full year before the festival. And we thought, I mean, this was me being very naive at this stage, we thought this would be an easy thing to do. What we saw was this. We had businesses, restaurants, who've been in existence 20 years, and they're shaking hands with each other because they've never met. In a town of that tiny size, as people just had never worked together, everyone was operating in their own little silos. So we started to break those down and get everybody realising they're all on the same page about where they wanted to be. We identified with them very quickly keys to success. If we want to do a festival, well, we've got to believe in the product. We've got to know that it's going to be good and solid enough. We've got to create a sense of arrival within the town, so make sure we've got pageantry to support it. We need to have something happening all the time. Festivals where there's something happening on Saturday night and then something on Wednesday night, they don't really work effectively. You've got to be able to keep the product going. We wanted to create a collector mentality, so anybody who's attending needs to be able to come and say, I want to do that, and that, and that, and be able to pull it all together. Then the most important two, first is you've got to engage the locals. If you can't get the locals on board, you're never going to be able to get visitors on board. Because at the end of the day, when people are coming to a community like this, they're attracted because because of that community spirit. They therefore want to go where the locals go. So if the locals stay at home, the visitors stay in their hotels. The other one being, it has to be industry-led. We can create a shelf for a food festival, we can do all kinds of things with business, but at the end of the day, if the businesses themselves don't want it, we're going to be pushing water uphill. So with all that in mind, we started our R&D. What does R&D mean? It means robbery and duplication. Innovation does not mean invention. You don't have to come up with it, and we don't have an original idea in our heads, but we were awfully good at going and seeing what works really well in other festivals elsewhere. So we created a whole festival, built a whole series of events. We made sure that we had set price menus going in 27 restaurants throughout the entire duration of the festival. We had a whole series of signature events, as we call them, including a beer festival, wine festival, and so on. And so there was a really intense schedule. And we pulled it all together with a passport. So people could go, every time they went to a restaurant or attended one of the ticketed events, they'd get a stamp in their passport. We got all of the restaurants to donate gifts so that there was a grand prize. The more stamps you get, the better chance you have of winning, and you could win dinner at every single restaurant in Canmore, which worked really well as a prize. Then we went into the promotion side, and we were working off a very small budget, so again we had to be very creative. Organisationally, we're right next door to Bath, we're 20 kilometres up the road, and we have a philosophy because we know we'll never be able to outspend the competition, so we have to be able to outthink. So we came up very quickly with the branding around the festival. Everything looked the same, everything was a very clear message. I'm going to jump back there. Media was a real problem. We needed the media to be able to talk about it, and for weeks leading up to the festival, nothing was happening. Then all of a sudden, a week beforehand, now everybody's calling. They found out about this festival, we're back and forth, we're doing television, and the story spread really quickly. We created identification around town. This was the pageantry, so that every business participating had a big flag flying, something was in the window saying what was happening at that particular business. And again, this is where we needed the businesses to be really behind it. Some people had their own way of promoting it, which was awesome. We loved that excitement. And then if you want to see what people can do by working together, have a look at this.
Yeah, I don't care, baby, about
and that was put together in about 8 days with all of the restaurants just giving their time. So the festival itself, we sold out the Craft Beer Festival, 250 people, sold out 450 people to the Wine Festival. We came up with a series of progressive dinners where you visit 4 different restaurants on each tour, and you have a specialty dish and a paired drink at each restaurant, and we provide the transportation in between. We sold out all of those, and we also sold out a long table dinner. Those of you who aren't familiar with the concept of this, it was 100 people sitting down outside, 6 different restaurants catering 6 different courses, and it was -5 outside. So everything came off without a hitch, I'm very, very happy to say.
100 people enjoying one long meal together.
It was just amazing, just to be out there
In April.
just in the middle of the meeting.
The long table dinner took place in Millennium Park here in Canmore.
Different experience actually.
6 restaurants.
All working together.
What we did was 6 courses.
With wine.
It was a wild night for everyone.
Tonight has been amazing.
It was awesome. It was tasty.
And so the outcomes of the festival, I have crazy high standards. Most of my staff will tell that to anybody, and unrealistic expectations. This one shattered even my expectations of how well we do in the first year. We sold out over 1,000 tickets to those ticketed events. Every ticket we could have sold out, we did sell. We had our website traffic to Tourism Canmore, which has been growing really big over the last few years. We increased 400% during the time of the festival. We had restaurants. This was the lowest number of any of the participating restaurants. A lot of them are actually reporting triple-digit increase during the period year on year. And we saw our hotel occupancy in April jump 18% with a big spike during the week of the festival itself. The nice crossover effect was we attracted a different type of person to town, and so the retailers and the galleries were reporting what they described as Boxing Day-like numbers. This was just a completely different type of traveller who was coming in. That survey that we did, there was an online fill-in, so you had to go in and fill the survey in to be able to complete your passport. So we had hundreds and hundreds of responses. And we know every single bit of the festival, what worked well, what could have been better, and a lot of suggestions for improvements. But, you know, the blue and the grey added together there is the satisfied and very satisfied, and we were up in the 90s in absolutely everything. The likelihood of returning to the festival came in at 94%, we were quite happy with that. And really importantly, it was looking at the businesses themselves.
Canmore was so successful.
The Uncorked was a fantastic opportunity for us.
Canmore Uncorked was an incredible success.
We created 50 to 100 new customers that had never been to drink.
We sold out every cooking class, and our hotel was full. The majority of the clients that we dealt with during that event, they have the discretionary income to buy art and spend lots of money on great food and wine and culture.
It was a tremendous success for us, both during the time of the festival and afterwards.
That's one initiative that I know paid off greatly. The no-brainer is business in a quieter time of the year.
For the month of April, we had increased from about 48% to 68%, and that was because of that week of Uncorked.
It was not only good for business, it was also fun to be involved in, especially that time of the year.
We've been very happy to be part of the whole experience, and we look forward to doing it, you know, every year to come.
We can't wait to do it again, and I can't imagine why anyone else would want to be involved in it.
So going back to the goals that we set, we did build a foundation. We know there's going to be a festival going ahead. We were very bold. And in terms of collaboration, last Monday we won the first ever Collaborative Tourism Award at the Travel Alberta Tourism Awards. So we were really thrilled with that, and it really was a testimony to the people who participated. We had also said at the beginning that we wanted to be a nationally renowned. This one we thought was going to take years and years to be able to build there, but it was that long-standing goal. We have been announced as one of the finalists for the Canadian Tourism Event of the Year. This is going to be taking place next month. Our competition is the Mosaic Cultural Festival in Montreal, the Canada Summer Games in Sherbrooke, and the 300th anniversary of Louisbourg in Nova Scotia. So already we are definitely the best festival in all of Western Canada, and we are the best food festival in Canada. So we've got those locked up. In terms of long-term impact, because it's all very well, you know, having short-term numbers and awards and so on. What's really important is the long-term impact. What we've been able to do is to create this product going forward. Those progressive dinner tours that we've created, they are now in the John View tariff, which is the holy grail of international tourism. The biggest inbound operator to Canada is now featuring Canmore as a culinary tourism destination with these products that didn't exist before April. We've been able to start moving this brand needle and to be able to say we're getting away from mountain sports and start focusing on some of the other things, in this case the culinary tourism side. So this is where we're getting creative and thinking outside the box in terms of our messaging. Our winter campaign right now, or fall campaign, has gone out all around fall colours. So this is the billboard out on the highway. We're supported by print, we're supported by online ads. These ads are clicking way, way above industry average. We're over 6 times ahead of industry average in terms of click-through on these. And the restaurants are seeing a huge amount of value coming out of it, which means the retailers are seeing value coming out of it as well. Canmore Uncorked, it's coming back. The food festival will be here April 7th to the 19th next year. Well, only an hour and a half that way, so that was the shameless plug. That was the sell message, man. So lastly, and I'm very short on time here, when we're looking at these kind of things, you've got to find the niche. And so in our case, it was looking at food, and it was saying, you know, we have a niche, we have a product, we can make it work. Know what success looks like. We set very, very lofty goals for the future, and you know, we haven't got all the way there, not yet, but we're going to get there and we're going to be able to build and grow. Thinking big and bold. I didn't actually find out until after the fact that my board thought that we were insane, starting with a 10-day food festival. They told me this after the festival had finished, which was probably a good thing. But everywhere else has started with 2 or 3 days and built up to 10 days. We started with 10 because the restaurants wouldn't go for 17 to start off with. But we're going to get up there sooner or later. Be creative, be passionate, and don't forget to rob and steal from wherever else you can as well. But most importantly, and most importantly of all, is do what you guys are doing in the room here tonight. Get together, talk together, get people working together, break down those barriers, and collaborate. So, thank you very much.